In this video, I will introduce to you several functions which you should memorize. We will use these functions in upcoming videos and sections so that you have an understanding of how to deal with basic functions and what graphs will look like without actually having to graph them. Some of them you already know. For example, this function, the constant function, is nothing more than the horizontal line y equals b. So y equals b is just the horizontal line that passes through a y-intercept of b. So you should know in all of these functions, this one and all the following, the domain, the range, and then there are going to be key points that will help you graph the function. And these points are particularly important because we are going to transform these functions in an upcoming video, and we will use these guide points to help us. Another function that you are familiar with is just simply y equals x. So this is a line with a slope of 1 and a y-intercept of 0. So you'll notice that we're going to start at 0 and we can go up 1 to the right 1 and we can get our guide points. Again, know the domain and the range, and here are the 3 guide points that will help us. Y equals x squared is a graph that we are going to encounter again and again. The domain is the set of all reals, and the range, you'll notice, is anything that's not negative. So 0 and above on the y-axis. And you'll notice the guide points, negative 1, 1, 0, 0, and 1, 1. So you'll notice that the square function has a U shape. The cube function, y equals x cubed, has almost a snake shape, and it has the points negative 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. The domain and the range are both all real numbers. So as this graph drops, it continues to go to the left, and as it rises, it will continue to go to the right, very steeply in both situations. The square root function is almost like our square function turned on its side, but it's only half of it. So we have this arch pointing, and you'll notice that I've chosen guide points that are nice perfect squares, okay? So the square root of 0 is 0, the square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 4 is 2. The cube root function has the same guide points as the cube function, but instead of being snaked upward, it's snaked side to side. Again, the domain and the range are similar. The domain is from negative infinity to infinity, and the range likewise is from negative infinity to infinity. The reciprocal function gets its name from the fact that any number you put in will yield a reciprocal. So if you put in negative 2, you get negative 1/2 out. If you put in negative 1/2, you get its reciprocal, negative 2. So this one has 2 branches. So you'll notice that the domain excludes 0. So you'll see that break. X can't be 0. And you'll also see the range has a break at 0. So y can't be 0. So you'll see this horizontal break where as we go from bottom to top, we must make this break right here. And that's seen in the range. The domain, likewise, as we go left to right, you see a break at x equals 0. The absolute value function is V-shaped, and it's relatively easy to graph with these guide points. Negative 1, absolute value of that's 1. Absolute value of 0 is 0. Absolute value of 1 is 1. So how do I tell students to remember this? Is V in absolute value has a V shape. So absolute value functions have a V-shaped graph. Notice the domain is all reals, and the range is 0 and above.